Hey there, what's going on? My name is Basir Payenda. Welcome to project 17 of 100 Web Project series, and in this video we'll be creating this draggable slider or draggable list using only HTML, CSS and Vanilla JavaScript. Alright, so without any further ado, let's get started. Here I already created the HTML, CSS and JavaScript files, linked them all together just to save some time, and in here I have an images directory that therein is all the images or the assets that you'll be using it throughout the entire tutorial. In here, these are from the nsplash.com. Okay, so for the markup, everything is going to be wrapped within this container, and just going to be an inner container that I'm going to call that as cards, and within that there's this card here, an images directory, pick one.jpg, and similarly card content with an h1, call that as heading 1, and some dummy content like lorem 10, save it, and then down below here I'm gonna duplicate this 6 times. 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what I did here was that I duplicated this card 6 times and changed the name of the image and similarly the name of heading. Okay, so I'm gonna run this in live server to see how is that gonna look. Okay, so it looks terrible. We're gonna be fixing it in a bit. Okay, first stack them side by side here. Now here in the style.css, first I'm gonna get everything, the before pseudo element and similarly the after pseudo element, and I'm gonna set the box sizing to be border box. Then for the body, I'm gonna add a minimum height of 100 vertical height, similarly displayed as flicks. Justify content to the center, align items to the center, and also a font family. I'm gonna call that as Montserrat, and some fallback font family of CUUI. Okay, let's just go back here. Oh, there we go. So I already installed Montserrat in my machine, but if you don't have this installed in your machine, you can get it from Google Fonts. Alright, so some global stylings here, global, and then this is gonna be for the images. They're all gonna have a width of 100%. Okay, this looks better, and then also an h1 is gonna have a margin of like 0.5 rem 0. Okay, that looks better. And then for the container here, container and cards, then the container is gonna have a width of 1000 pixels. It's gonna be positioned as relative, and yeah, and then for the cards, it's gonna be displayed as grid and grid template columns. I'm gonna repeat 6 times. Each of the card is going to be like 300 pixels here. Okay, so now you can see they are kind of stacked side by side. Alright, then I'm gonna also add a grid gap here. Just gonna be 50 pixels for the row and for the column. Okay, then down below here for the card, I'm gonna add this border of 1 pixel solid CCC here, and that also I'm gonna add this border radius of like 50 pixels, and also overflow hidden. Okay, there was so much wondering. Now this looks better, and then down below right here we also have the card content, and I'm gonna add the color of 3, 4, something like that, and also a padding of 1 rem. There we go. I'm just gonna make this a little bit muted than 3, 4. Let's go with 4E. How's that gonna look? Okay, so this looks a little bit better. Alright, so I also need to position this cards absolute, and from the top that's gonna be 0, and essentially from the left that's gonna be 0 as well. And the reason why I position this cards as absolute is because I'm going to change the left position of that using JavaScript. Okay, so now this looks better, and also I'm gonna add a height for the container as well. This is gonna be like 400 pixels. Okay, so this looks good. Alright, now let's go to the JavaScript side. Here first I'm gonna get the container dot query selector. That's the dot container there, and then similarly the cards, this document dot query selector dot cards there. Okay, and then down below I'm gonna have a flag variable in here, and this is essentially going to keep track of users mouse down and up. Okay, so in this variable is going to be called is pressed down, this equal to set false, And then I also need one more variable in here, so that's going to be the x horizontal space of cursor from inner container. Okay, and then I'm going to be calling this as, I don't know, what do I call it, cursor x space. Okay, and then down below, container dot add event listener, and then mouse down. I'm gonna run this function here, and this function is going to be for the mouse down event. Okay, so mouse down event is gonna trigger only when you are pushing your mouse down. And then here, when the mouse is down, so I just want to set it back to true, because I will be using this variable in mousemove, and you'll see that when. Okay, so what is this cursor x space in here? First, I'm gonna just define it in here, then I will tell you what do I mean by that. Offset x minus cars dot offset left. Okay, so if you're new to offset x, and similarly for the offset left, first I'm gonna define what is offset x and offset left, then I will say why they are subtracted from each other, and then I will explain what is cursor x space. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the offset x. I already created this diagram, actually these notes here, that this is a definition from the MDN. You can pause the video and read it yourself, but essentially it's gonna retrieve the horizontal position of mouse pointer in pixels, or you can say it is going to get the x coordinate of mouse cursor relative to the target element. And then for the offset left, this is again from the MDN. Okay, just a simple note to tell you what is offset parent here. So basically what it means is that it's going to return the left position in pixels relative to the left side of the offset parent. Okay, so remember this, relative to the left side of the offset parent. So in here, e.offset x, as I said, is going to retrieve the horizontal position of mouse cursor in pixels. Now if I just console.log e.offset x in here, you'll notice it instantly. What do I mean by that? Okay, then I'm going to go to the console here, and if I just click somewhere right here, then you'll instantly notice 298 here. That is expected, because here grid template columns, we set that to 300 pixels, and I'm like close to that, 298. So essentially it is going to get or retrieve that horizontal position of mouse pointer in pixels relative to the target element. And then here is the offset left, is going to return the left position in pixel relative to the left side of offset parent here. And why we are subtracting them from each other? Okay, let me first actually console.log this one. So there we go. And now wherever I click, this should return a value of 0, and that is expected. Okay, because right now this cards which is within the container, you can see that their left position is set to 0. Okay, so wherever I click, this is set to 0. But the question arises in here that why do we need it then in here? So e.offset x minus 0, there's always going to be e.offset x, and here is the reason. If I just go back into the document right here, then if I just try to, for example, let me just maximize this out though, if I just try to push it toward the left side like this, okay, this is like 300 pixels, and that if I click anywhere like here, this is going to be e.offset x, and anything that's not visible, that will be a minus value. Okay, and if you didn't understand it so far, no problem, I will just come back to it again. And then again, I'm just gonna copy this out though, and it's gonna be for the mouse move here, and then I'm gonna get rid of these. And then I'm gonna check if is pressed down. Okay, if is pressed down, essentially going to check if it is not pressed, then don't run this function, and just get rid of some default behaviors as well. And there we go. So then I'm gonna say cars.style.left, that's then equal to, and then here I'm gonna be using template literals e.offset x, okay, minus what was that, cursor x space, and then just gonna be in pixels. Okay, so now what's gonna happen is that I can Okay, I can drag it because in style.css I need to set this pointer events to none. Okay, so now I hope, yeah, now I can drag this. Okay, there we go. But believe me, right now I didn't push the cursor. This is this weird behavior that's happening on mousemove. So just in order to get rid of that, I'm gonna add another event listener and call this as mouseUp. Okay, so whenever the mouseUp is gonna trigger, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna set this back to false. Okay, back to false. There we go. Now it should be easy. Yeah, there we go. Now I can just move it toward the left and right side easily without any problem. Let's just go back into style.css and add a border top of like, I don't know, 10 pixels, solid red. And then for the cards again, down here, let's just copy this line of code and paste it down below here. This is gonna be for the blue here. Okay, 0 0 if, there we go. This is for the blue, and this is obviously border bottom. There we go. All right, so now this can help us a little bit. Okay, so this is the container and this one is the cards container. Okay, now you can see that you can move it toward the left side and then toward the right side. Now I can explain what is going on in this line of code here, right here. Okay, so first I'm gonna open the console, go to the console tab, and then right here, if I just stack them side by side, and then I'm gonna say console.log cards.offset left. Okay, so earlier I said that cards.offset left is always going to return 0, but now it's not gonna return 0 because whenever this cards, which is this cards right here, when it's gonna be positioned relative to the container, its left position is gonna change. Now notice in the console as I'm moving it toward the left side. This is minus 310. So essentially what it means is that cards is gonna calculate the cards left position in pixel relative to the container in here. Okay, so I hope that's not confusing. And if it is, just pause the video, think about it, and you'll be back into track what's going on in here. Okay, so now what I can do is that I also need to get rid of this extra white space in here. So back into here, I'm gonna call another function called as bound cards here, and then I'm gonna create this function called as bound cards. There we go. And then right here, what I need is the container underscore rect that's equal to container dot get bounding client rect here. Okay, and similarly for the, let me just stretch it up a little bit so I can see what's going on here. Okay, then this is gonna be for cards rect. This again going to be equal to cards dot get bounding client rect here again. All right, so what is this get bounding client rect? Console.log cards underscore rect. There we go. And now look what is gonna happen as I'm trying to move the cursor. So this get bounding client rect is going to return a DOM, an object that's gonna be for the bottom, for the height, left, right, top, width, X and Y. And it's kind of a little bit hard to explain from this slider in here. So I prepared this one, okay? And there is this, from the HTML you can see, this is this simple box right here that has a width, height and margin of 100 pixels and margin of 10 pixels, okay? So notice in here I get the box and then call this get bounding client rect method on that, and then in the outputs, which is essentially going to be this div right here, I outputted some of the content to help us understand what is rect.top, rect.left, .bottom, .right, width and height. Okay, so coming from the rect.top here, this is going to calculate the top position of the square from the top position of the browser. That is 10 pixels. You can know the margin is 10 pixels. Okay, then again rect.left, this is going to be the space between the left side of the browser and left side of the square. That's again 10 pixels, we know that. And then here rect bottom, from the bottom of the square and the top of the browser. What is that space? That's a total of 110 pixels, because the height of this square is 100 pixels and the 10 pixels of the margin is going to be a total of 110 pixels. And similarly for the right side of the square, and then the left side of the browser here, there's a total of 110 pixels again. Then the width and height, they are pretty much self-explanatory, and x and y, they are the x and y axis. Okay, so from the x it's like 10 and from the y it's like 10 pixels again. Okay, so I just hope it makes sense. First of all, I'm gonna say if cards.style.lift, if that is greater than 0, okay, if that is greater than 0, then I'm gonna set the cards.style.lift back to 0. Okay, so what is happening in here? So if I just go to style.css, you will notice that this cards, it has a position of absolute, and from the left side it is set to 0. We are saying in here, if the left side, which is this position, if this is greater than 0, which right now it is, if that's greater than 0, just make it back to 0. I mean, switch it and push it back to cards.style.lift to 0. Okay, so just save it. Yep, there it is. And now if I just refresh that out, well, I still can go toward the left and right side. That is because this has to be put within a parse integer, yeah, to return it an integer. Now now that looks better, and now this should work. There we go. I'm just pressing the cursor and trying to move toward the left side further, but it is not. Okay, and similarly, else if cards rect_rect.right, if that is less than container_rect.right, then what we're going to be doing is that, again, I'm going to say cards.style.lift is equal to, okay, I'm going to code and explain it later what's going on in here. Okay, then cards_rect.width minus container_rect.width, and that's going to be in pixels here. Okay, so now if I just go back in here and drag it, you can see that I cannot go any further beyond this, and similarly for the left side as well. So now it is fully working. And now let's come in here. You understood what's going on in here, but you didn't understand, probably you don't understand why did we are looking for a less than value in here. Okay, so for that I'm gonna console.log cards_rect.right, and similarly container_rect.right here. Okay, so now take a close attention to what's going on in here. If I just move my cursor, look at this one here, and it is just returning the cards_rect.right, and then this is the container_rect.right from get bounding client rect. I just hope you know what's right is from the left side of the browser and the right side of this square. In this case, our square is this cards container. Okay, essentially this one with the border bottom of blue. So if I just move it up, so we are checking if this is, now you can see if this is less than, which essentially right now it is, then we are going to style the cards.style.lift and get the width of the cards rect and subtract it from container_rect.width with a minus added to it. So then in this case, this part here, it is going to be not visible because this is a minus value here. Okay, so I hope that it makes sense. Now back into style.css, I'm just gonna comment this out, and similarly this too. And then if I just go back here, let's set the overflow to hidden, and now come back in here. Now you can see it works just fine. And also from the demo you can see whenever I'm pushing the cursor down, the cursor is changing. I have to fix that as well. So that's gonna happen in script.js. Again, I need this mouseup event, but it's gonna be for the container. For the mouseup, what's gonna happen is that it is going to set the style of the container, its cursor, to be equal to grab, duplicate it down below, and right at the top here it's going to be grabbing. There we go. Now if I just, yeah, okay, it's not working. Is that grabbing? Double B, I forgot the spelling. Yeah, now you can see it just works fine. Now you can drag it as you wish. If I refresh that out, but now on mouse hover is not working, all you have to do is to go to here in the container section, add the cursor of grabbing there, save it, and then if I just go back, now just refresh the page, and then now as I'm moving my cursor on that, it's already okay, it's already grabbing. It should be grab. Yeah, there we go. Just back into here. Now there it is. So I can now drag from the left side toward the right side, and similarly from the right side toward the left side. Alright, so that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell notification for more videos. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.